All right. Well, hello, everybody. My name is Evan Matthews. I am the co founder of Macroverse. And today we're going to talk about community driven storytelling. How do we build the next generation of worldwide entertainment franchises, not just for the community, but more importantly, with the fan base and the community that rallies around building these franchises. So, we're going to talk methodology. We're going to talk about the role of NFTs and ownership of characters. We're going to talk about how we at Macroverse think about taking those characters and turning them into content and what that means for the people that own those characters. And we're going to talk about what we've done and what we're about to do in this context, and how you can get involved, most importantly. So I'm going to kind of dive right into it and kind of go through a case study. Hey, Lady Valor, perfect timing because I'm about to talk about Lady Valor and her zombie character from the world of Deadtown, which is one of Macroverse's original properties. So the first NFT project that we launched ourselves is from this franchise called Deadtown. It's a comic series. It's a TV pilot script that myself and my partner Adam Martin wrote. There is a whole 90-page show Bible, world Bible that we put together for Deadtown. And Deadtown is this post-apocalyptic neo-noir world where, you kind of think of it as The Last of Us meets the Maltese Falcon. It's, kind of classic noir with this kind of zombie apocalypse. But in the context of the story, the zombies are kind of like just something people have already gotten used to. So it's not like, this is the threat to the populace. It's more an exploration of what do people do in catastrophic circumstances, and they have to keep figuring out how to live their lives. And there's all kinds of social commentary around, how do we move on and who do people become in the worst of times and the best of times. So what we did is we created a way to create your own characters. And this is an example of that. So you can still do this right now. We're still minting. I don't think, slight tangent. We don't look at these as PFPs. We think if people use them as PFPs, that's great. But we look at the opportunity to own characters in this world that we're building, in this franchise. And so we wanted to optimize this collection, not for immediate kind of quick flip, pull the slot machine and hope you win, but more around creating emotional connection to the characters and being able to do some fun things with those mechanics. So these are design your own characters. I think we're one of the first, if not the first, to make this collection where you get to choose what does your character look like, what traits does the characters have. And so the collection actually evolves over time as far as rarity percentages and things like that, because it's all driven by the choices of the people that choose to make these characters. What that also means is that you're ending up with a character that you genuinely like the look of, that you're excited to, think about telling a story around. And so, there have been about 6,000 of these that have been minted so far. We'll continue to mint them. We also get to do fun things like have limited edition items, like being able to put your zombie's head on a stick or having one whose body has been charred beyond belief, or, something that suggests story, like a nurse or doctor uniform with bloody handprints on it. So, you create these characters. Or in the context of other collections like Bushido's or Vogu, we bring your characters to the party. But in the case of Deadtown, you create your character. And then we go through a process in our Discord where we have an opportunity to take these characters and then pitch them back to the community. And if you'll bear with me for a second, I'm going to be swapping between screen sharing sources here for just a second. But I want to show people kind of what this full process looks like. Some of you will be engaging in it with us before too long. So let me switch over to the Macroverse Discord, which is discord.gg/Macroverse. The one drawback about Restream, this is what we use to do these live streams, is that it's finicky when it comes to screen sharing. So I have to like catch it at the right moment. But there we go. I believe we're sharing now. So this is in the Macroverse Discord. We invited everyone to mint these characters, mint these zombies, bring them in and pitch story ideas. And so you can see here, different people bringing their characters. There's a GSA agent in here, different characters from these different collections, but I'm gonna focus on Deadtown for the moment. So people that pitch their characters, their zombies, little ideas around, who might this character be in the context of this world. A certain number of them get voted on, and I believe in season 1 for Deadtown of our anthology, we put together 8 greenlit stories, which then get moved into this channel's Greenlit Stories channel. And then you can see continued development here within each of these channels. So I'm going to focus on Lady Valor's to start with. And if we go into this thread, we can see, the original pitch, the original character. In her case, it's 2 sisters that are the focus of this particular story, kind of working through the storyline itself. Although actually, you know what? I'm looking at the wrong thread here. So this is all live. If you want to come check it out for yourself, I am looking for a different one of Lady Valor. She actually got a couple that got greenlit. Not Lunch Special. Here we go. Have Mercy. So you can see, we're working out some details. We're bringing on an artist, in this case, Matt Stevens, who's also a phenomenal artist on a series called Digital Pools. But here are the 2 characters that she minted. So here are the 2 sisters, the Mercy sisters. Those are characters that she designed. This is the story that she created around them. And then you can see comments from me and some from Adam, and you're kind of working through the process of getting this into a form where it's a script where we can then hand it off to an artist. And in this particular thread, like, you can really get into the full process that we went through. Here's her final script that got delivered. Matt, the artist, is now in the conversation asking questions. Here are the character designs that he did based on those NFTs, which are then going to get turned into these comic pages. Here are the roughs of the pages that get turned into the short comics that we create around these different characters. So, you really get to come behind the curtain and become a part of the production process. Like, you get to learn step by step, what does it look like to make a comic out of these characters? And the real intention here, the longer term intention, is that going through this process allows you to create characters that, again, exist in this world, in the world of Deadtown, in this example, and that these Mercy sisters have a story to tell, they have a role to play, and we believe can grow into meaningful parts of the universe. So while we're telling a very specific kind of story with a set of characters that, we've invented around the kind of core concepts of Deadtown, now there are all these other characters, literally a swarm of zombies in this case, that, can come and be a part of this world, tell these, different nooks and crannies of the universe that, we wouldn't necessarily otherwise get to see. And that is one of the things that makes this whole process so interesting and compelling, is that these are stories that we wouldn't necessarily have come up with ourselves. And that makes it all the more wonderful that we get to explore this with the community. So bear with me one more second, because I want to show you the next step in this process. And I need to switch tabs again in order to do that. So switching to OpenSea, what we then did is we go and we do something to upgrade these particular NFTs. So everything we do is optimized around participation and about being able to generate value and things that matter over the life of building out these franchises. So if we go over to OpenSea, you'll see, all of these zombie characters, and a certain number of them probably stand out because they have this colored appearance. So color plays a role in the narrative of Dead Town. The post-apocalypse, after the zombie outbreak is all in black and white. Everything before the outbreak is in color. And so we start to recognize these characters which have been greenlit, that are now kind of recognized as canonical in the universe, as a set of unique characters in the collection. So now each of these has some special things that happen to it. You get this color one-of-one piece of artwork by the artist. So I'm going to go into one of Lady Valor's characters here. And these have been upgraded now as interactive NFTs. So you now have this kind of cool animated transition, which shows the post-apocalypse and pre-apocalypse, pieces of the story world. If you mouse over this or roll over it, you can start to see like, oh, there's some interactive elements here. So you can now step through the process, seeing the different states, the kind of the journey that the character in NFT form has gone on. Here's the original mint, the character that Lady Valor created through the process of creating the character and minting the character. Stephen Perkins, who's the artist on Dead Town, then created this one-on-one piece of color art, which is the greenlit iteration of the character, the pre-apocalypse version. And then we have this fun split view to be able to see kind of pre and post-apocalypse, which makes them very easily identifiable within the collection as well. And just for fun, we also give them stats and inventory, which is a whole system that we built out for gamification, and more on that later. But the point is, you've done something. The people that went through the process to have these characters become recognized as canon, become greenlit, to get this special treatment, they started off just like any other character in the collection, but through participation, through creative energy, through being a really meaningful contributor to the world, they get they are the rarest in the collection. And so I think thinking about rarity and value and the way that things accrue value over time, as we're looking through the lens of building worlds, building stories, building franchises, I think it's a different way of thinking about how these things become meaningful. And in our world, in the world of Dead Town, this stuff becomes very meaningful. So what happens from there? And hi, Clever Era. I love what you guys do as well. Thank you. So, what happens next? You've got characters that have been greenlit. They've gone through this process. Greenlit for us because we're starting with digital comics. We're starting with this kind of next generation comics format. For us, that means they get turned into comics. And so we get this very cool process where you've got the main storyline of Dead Town kind of proceeding over here. And now you've got all these characters that we've recognized as canon within the universe that get their own stories over here. And so we get sort of an anthology. I like to sort of think of it as, if you're familiar with Star Wars Visions, which is this very cool collection of short animations through the lens of unique artists and animators. And yet, of course, you've got the main Star Wars, trilogy and everything happening over here. So you've got your main story over here. We now have Star Wars Visions happening over here. And any of these characters that go on to become bigger and bigger parts of the universe will generate more and more returns and rewards in every sense of that word for the people that actually own these characters. And, the minters of these characters own these characters within this universe. So bear with me while I switch screens again. Now I'm going to show some of the work that gets created on the comic side. So what does this turn into? And again, it's going to be finicky for just a second while I get the right input here. What does this turn into? I'd love to show you. Here we go. So this is Lady Valor's story realized in comic form. And it will ultimately get distributed. I'm going to go through it relatively quickly, but shout out, number one, Lady Valor created this story, created these characters. Number two, Matt Stevens, the artist who brought this to life, did a fantastic job. And you can see, we talk about like what role does color play in the story. It doesn't have to play the same role in her story that it does in the main story. But one of the things about Dead Town is that color plays a role in the narrative. It's not an ambiguous choice for it to be black and white versus color. And so obviously Black, white, and red always works. We've got blood, which makes a very, very, impactful way of utilizing that. But in this story, one of these characters also has some psychological issues, let's say. And, there's a lot of thinking about, how these two sisters take care of each other, what their relationship is between the two of them, how they are going to go from essentially being left alone together in this apocalyptic world. And, how do they see the world? And so we had a lot of conversations through this process of how does each of them perceive the world around them. And so what we can see is that, one of them is now seeing this kind of very bleak black and white reality, while the other of them sees something a little bit different. And so in this case, using color as a way to highlight the perception between the two characters became a really effective way of resolving that. And then here we are, bringing us to the end of this particular introduction of these characters, this 8-page short story, and very much to be continued. Some little Easter eggs with digital pools and DSX, which was another project that Lady Valor and I were both fans of, so we put that in there as a comic. But very, very fun stuff to see this all come to life, over the course of creating this, all from characters that someone in this community created themselves, minted as an asset that they own, brought their own creativity and intelligence and participation into this process, and then we get to see the result. And then the cool thing is, because these characters now exist in a tangible form, this will go out through our app, it will go out through our platform, ultimately they'll end up in print, and these adventures can continue. And all revenue that gets generated through any media, whether that's toys or t-shirts or comics or anything that involves these characters, a significant piece of that goes back to the owner of those characters. And so it is the way that I think these next generation of franchises are going to get built, where there's a world, a playground that we all agree to play in together, but individual people can have the power and ability to take things and turn them into something much more than what they started as, and reap the benefits of that. And so it's, it is the opportunity, as I like to talk about, to create the next Boba Fett, to create the next Deadpool, to create a character that isn't necessarily the starting point of the universe, but becomes a massive, successful franchise in and of itself within the playground that the universe suggests. So I'm going to show you one more from the world of Deadtown before we move on to another preview. So this is, I don't think anyone has seen this full story yet. So some of the stuff I'm going to show you hasn't been seen before, but this one hasn't been lettered yet. But this is a short story that was created by two characters from Tiny Universe. Oh, you know what? I have to switch. I have to switch what I'm sharing again. All right, stand by. So adding this input again. So you can find these characters on OpenSea or on the Macroverse Discord. Whoa, that's not it. On the Macroverse Discord as well. Sorry, just give me 1 second here. Another duo, so two characters that Tiny put into one story. This really does not want to let me share the window that I want to share. Oh, so close. You know what? I have to click on it and then click the return button super fast for it to recognize what thing I want to share, which is a real drawback as I mumble and narrate this excruciating experience for all of us. Just 1 second here. Oh, so close. So close. Come on. Yes. All right. So this is Tiny Universe. Two more characters from the world of Deadtown. Totally different art style, totally different approach, which is one of the things I love about this is we bring an incredible array of comic artists and illustrators to these different stories. So when you get this kind of Star Wars Visions or Love, Death, and Robots kind of experience of the world, not only is it a different type of story based on the person that owns these characters, but it's also a unique artistic expression of it through the lens of a different artist. And so it's really cool to see these things come together. It's kind of a Love, Death, and Robots kind of experience in that regard as well. So, these are the two storylines, or the two characters. One of them is a prostitute down on her luck. The other one takes advantage of that. One of the things I love about this too is both Lady Valor with DSX and also Tiny Universe with GSA and Consume, which is from an artist named Hal Hefner. Both of those come from other projects. And so one of the things that's fun about Deadtown is we included a lot of traits in the collection where we said, these people that became zombies were fans of things. And so like most of the hats have things that they were fans of. They died the biggest fan of the GSA or Consume. So, little nudity warning here. Sorry, too late. But these guys get into a fight, and, the female character here, I think it's Mindy. Sorry, Tiny. She's going about her business, so to speak. That makes her sick. She turns into a zombie. One of the traits in the collection is darts in the face. And so we had to figure out a way to incorporate that into the story as well, which is a lot of fun. And then, Tiny being who Tiny is, of course, they both end up dead at the end. And we see him reanimate here in the final panel. And that's where we leave these guys. So tons of fun seeing these things come to life. And again, just an incredible array of artistic talent, that does bring these things to life. So there's a couple examples from town. Now what I want to do is just kind of show a little bit more art, because I'm so proud of what everyone has done, both on the creator, writer, owner of these character side, and also the collaboration with the artists that we were able to bring to the table here. So speaking of things that no one has ever seen, have not seen yet, I'm going to show you a handful of the episodes that we created for Bushido's. And I also will give Bushido's some credit here, where this process has been something we've been developing over the past, couple of years, working with different projects, our own with Deadtown, Bushido's, the GSA, now the Wanderers. And we're going to kick this same process off with Vogu and the Koala Intelligence Agency, the two newest worlds to come into Macroverse over the next couple of weeks. So everything we're going through here is going to apply to every project that comes into Macroverse and partners that we work with, and just this whole methodology and approach to creating story, creating characters, creating worlds that people own and participate in for the long term. This really is how I believe this is going to get done. How are we going to create the next Star Wars? It's not going to be because we did it the way they did it, 50, 60 years ago. It's because we're going to embrace new technologies, new tools, new thinking, new first principles about how we can, streamline, accelerate, open up new opportunities and possibilities for creators and participants across this ecosystem. And it's pretty darn fun as well. So now bear with me while I get to the next screen sharing again. This is a Bushido story called Web of Honor. If you're a Mike Mignola fan, you're going to love the look of this one. And the thing with Bushido's, which was a little different, Deadtown was a fully formed concept. Like, we knew what that was. It existed before we even got into Web3. Bushido's was not. It was an incredible collection, incredible, PFP collection from an artist named Jeremy Booth. They had a few ideas around the universe, but we really started by fleshing out what is this playground. And then we went into who are your characters within this playground. So this is, again, a story. The holder here is Dapper Dog, and incredible artist here again. And so this one I'm showing you in its Tap Story incarnation. So we also build these in multiple formats for the way they're going to be distributed. the collectible widescreen edition of this is, how this will look. And so as I go through the tab story here, you'll see the way that, we kind of move through these sequences. And for anyone that doesn't know Bushido's, it's this sci-fi samurai world. In this case, what I love about this particular story is he chose to go in a much kind of smaller, area. This is really a character piece between the master and the apprentice, and then brings us kind of into the world and their relationship and kind of this mystical journey that they go on together. And it has this really wonderful kind of melodic vibe to it. I say that as he picks up a flute and then gets bitten by a spider. So does he turn into Spider-Man? I guess that's what we have to find out next. But no, he doesn't turn into Spider-Man. He dies and turns into a ghost. But this has this really beautiful kind of haunting, style and vibe to the whole thing. And again, what I love about this, and you'll see it as we go through a few of these Bushido stories, is, we get to really feel different things based on the art, based on the characters, based on the type of story that's being told, but it's all unified through the themes of the world and the playground that we're in. And so I know I'm going too fast to actually be able to read it. You're seeing some part of what we do in our process here. So this one's not quite 100% finished, but the lettering is kind of in place at this point, but we've got a few tweaks before we polish it all the way up here. So you're seeing finished art with, I'd say 85% finished kind of lettering and polish to the final. But it's just a great, wonderful lyrical short story, which, just really brings us into a special part of the Bushido's universe. So that's that one. I'm going to show you a couple more just so you can kind of see the variety of what these turn into. So I have to, again, go through the process of screen sharing. There is just no easier way to do this. I really wish there was. Matt Stevens, who we went through his Deadtown story, also did a Bushido story. This one for a holder called Ultraviolet. The story is called Ultraviolet. The holder of this one, I am blanking on at the moment, but I'm going to tell you because I want to give the right shout out. Rare Hydra. Really fun working through this one. The other thing that we have done with most of the creators that have gone through this process is we'll get to a point where we're ready to show off the art, and we actually bring everybody onto a Zoom call with the artist, the writer, us, and allow for any kind of final feedback as part of that process. So it's another kind of fun thing to be able to get really into the weeds of like, how does this stuff get made? So this is also the tab story version of the story called Ultraviolet. Again, Matt Stevens is the artist. And one of the things you could see, like, he did an incredible job with Lady Valor's story in black and white, but Matt is really known for his color work. Like, he does has this incredible sense of color and vibrancy. So as we have this Ronin character approach this ancient temple and come into this library, which has been abandoned and filled with these iridescent mushrooms, it's really cool to be able to live in this kind of color world that Matt has created. And again, we're probably 85% with the lettering on this one as well. But seeing this kind of singular journey of this character that's discovered this abandoned temple or library, and starts to kind of try to figure out what's there, and go through this little journey to find an artifact that he's been searching for, and maybe things don't go quite as expected as we go through this sequence. He is a Ronin though, so reactions are quick. He can cut a piece of paper in one swipe. So just really cool to see again how these things come together. And once again, each of the characters in these stories is based on a character that the person that minted that NFT owns, and we get to now turn into something that's more than just a JPEG, but is actually a storyline within this larger universe. So that's that one. I've got 2 more to show you also from the world of Bushidos. And this one's going to be a little bit different in that, anyone that knows our platform knows that we craft these things for multiple formats. And so if you pick it up on your phone, you're going to get the optimized version for your phone. If you pick it up on a web or tablet device, you're going to get an optimized version for web or tablet. And then, of course, collectible editions, which are coming very soon as well, which have their own unique attributes and experience. So this one is a concept artist who we had the great fortune of working with on the Creepshow Halloween special that Adam and I directed. He's also done a ton of storyboards for Marvel movies and all kinds of amazing stuff. He's very, very in demand. So I've been very fortunate to work with him. His name is Ferenz, is the artist. And this one is a story called Bard by Viha. Just incredible once again. And this is the phone version that I'm going to walk you through, so you can get a sense of what one of these feels like when it goes. Whoops, I only want to show you one page at a time, so I'll stand by for one more second. There we go. So as I tap through this, you'll see, imagine this on your phone, you'll kind of get a sense of what does something look like. Again, about 85% as far as the word balloons and placement goes, but just another awesome interpretation of what the Bushidos universe looks like. And really cool to see his style, where he's kind of bringing some concept art, comic style, and storyboard kind of aesthetic all together into telling this story. His portfolio of storyboard work is amongst the best that I've ever seen. It's really, really cool. So, just really striking visuals in here, great sense of color, great sense of movement, as we come through these sequences. And, a lot of people really focused on this seppuku event, which was where the Bushidos got these magical, mystical swords. We weren't sure where they came from. And by sacrificing themselves, were able to turn into what are known as Ronin, which are these mechanical versions of the Bushidos that are a little bit to be revealed in the main Bushidos comic series. So another just absolutely gorgeous one. And I'm going to show you one more, again, just, partly for the sake of showing the Bushidos community a bunch of work that they haven't seen up to this point and beyond. So this one, we talked about Matt Stevens, doing a couple of these stories. His partner in creativity wrote this one. So Matt, or Alex Robnett is the writer, and this one is called The Assimilation. Again, kind of focusing on the seppuku event around Bushidos. And bear with me one more time while I get this screen sharing going. Almost had it. There we go. And another just totally different artistic style and interpretation for the world, but they all feel like the world. And to me, that's what's so cool about this process. So this one is focused on this kind of pivotal moment and a little bit of a different take on how a Bushido might become a Ronin. Just another gorgeous art style bringing this to life. And so I'm going to go through it relatively quickly, but a little bit of an anime vibe here. Phenomenal artist out of the Philippines on this one. Just really, really cool stuff. So again, this is the widescreen top story version. There'll of course be a mobile version as well as a more traditional widescreen comic page format, which will be something that people can mint if they want to as well. So more on that later. But just another really cool version. Look at this. This is one of the things that the top story format does so well. It's a small detail, but being able to go from that to changing lighting, or just, making something happen that brings us to another moment in time or helps us shift through a sequence, just something that works so well in this format. And so here we have that seppuku moment as that Bushido transfers his consciousness into this Ronin. And then lots of that mystery to be revealed coming up in the main series as well. So that's what I wanted to show today as far as visuals. But I just want to go back one more second, and then I'll open it up. There's somebody that's joined me here, and anybody else that wants to join live, I'm going to post that link one more time here in the chat on the YouTube stream. So if anybody wants to join live, come over to YouTube and jump in. Happy to talk, answer questions, dive into more of the details here. But man, this is just the thing I've fallen in love with. Like, we got into all of this to make content ourselves, and then to work with other great creators. And then the thing I never would have predicted is just the joy that it is to help anyone that has ever wanted to tell stories, that's ever had ideas for stories, be able to become a part of that process at whatever place they decide they want to do that. And to be able to make that something that's tangible, that becomes a real thing, that becomes a real product, that has the potential to grow and become something that could be, massive at some scale beyond nothing, which I think is kind of an interesting place for where we're at in the overall NFT market as well. I think a lot of projects are saying, we've got a PFP collection, now what? And I think this is a great answer for now what, that, there are a handful of projects that matter as identity, that, people really want to use as their, profile picture, and to create an identity or a brand around that. I think the majority of these projects don't have that kind of long-term appeal and value as PFPs, but they do have a story to tell. There is a world there, and those are the ones that we get the most excited about. So anyone that is listening or watching, hey Malloy, from the Vogu, anyone that is in the Vogu community, we're going to be kicking this process off there over the next, 10 days or so. If you're in the KIA community, we're going to be doing that as well. We're going to keep doing more of this within Deadtown and Bushido's and other projects that are about to come out as well. So, we've got 40 different worlds, 40 different universes in various stages. 5 of them are coming at the release of our Web3 platform, which is, still about a month or so away. And then we've got dozens more, and ultimately there will be hundreds, and ultimately there will be thousands. It'll be just kind of unlimited space to play, to build, to create. And thank you, AI Planet. And thank you, Mark Fitzpatrick. There's so much that we can build together. And to me, that's the thing that I have gotten the most excited about, is being able to create franchises together. Let's see. Mark is saying, I get this will take time and things change. Interested in current vision as it stands today. If you have an example to illustrate, maybe Wanderers. So, Wanderers, we are also working with. We've got a whole batch of original, these same kinds of anthology stories that are happening in the Wanderers community right now. Let's see. Sorry, I'm looking at comments on the YouTube feed. Let's see. If a share of NFT mints related to stories or IP appears, character mints, comic covers, collectibles, share of future media deals, the property takes off. So yeah, I look at this is actually simpler than it sounds. And I think some of this has gotten overly complicated in some areas in Web3. And we look at it very much like the way that Rob Liefeld has a piece of Deadpool with some superpowers. So for anyone that doesn't know this story, everyone knows Deadpool. Deadpool was created by an artist named Rob Liefeld. Some people love Rob. Some people don't love Rob for his particular art style. But he created a set of characters in the 90s, Deadpool being one of them, Cable, several others that have been featured in various media as toys, those sorts of things. And in that scenario, Marvel owns those characters. They live inside the X-Men universe, which of course lives inside the larger Marvel universe. But Rob has participation in those characters. So when Deadpool goes to t-shirts or lunchboxes or toys or obviously film and games and all the different avenues that Deadpool has now been utilized in all kinds of different media, Rob gets a little piece of that. And he doesn't own that character in that particular case, but he has participation in the upside of that character across everything forever. His family will have participation in that character forever. And so we look at this very much the same way, with one critical important piece, which is that you, as the owner and originator of the character in this methodology, do own that underlying character. And so the way that we treat that and the way we deal with that is a little bit of the new, a little bit of the old. When these characters get greenlit and as they go into production, we essentially have a licensing agreement where there is a little trade-off, which, if you want to take your, Vogu, let's say, and go create a robotic line of burger restaurants, then you're absolutely free to do that. When that Vogu becomes a part of the franchise, it's recognized as canon, there's story being built about it, we believe this character could go on to be meaningful in this larger universe, then at that point we agree that yes, we're going to work to build this character into something meaningful within the franchise. So you're going to give up the right to go and do anything with that character outside of the franchise without a conversation, without an agreement. So if we, you come and say, hey, I know we've built this character up in his own storyline and it's now part of the franchise, and I want to go do a burger joint, we probably ultimately come together and say, like, yeah, that's great, let's do it. But if you came and said, I want to go start a line of, medical marijuana stops with that Vogu, in that case, it might still be okay, or there might need to be a conversation about how that ties into the overall franchise. Because once it's become part of canon, we want to make sure that we're presenting a unified world or a unified universe for people to play in and to understand and to interact with, and kind of finding the things that make the most sense for everyone involved to grow that together. So you still have all the rights that you could possibly want, and then ultimately, if we decide collectively together that we're building this, as part of the franchise, there's a little bit of trade-off there. So I hope that makes sense. And, it's not meant to be restrictive. It's just meant to build something that is bigger than the sum of its parts altogether. I am watching the chat if anybody else has questions, or if you want to pop in live. The person that had been waiting so patiently backstage has dropped off. So I apologize for that. So if anybody else has questions, by all means, ask them either in the chat or by coming in. If not, that's pretty much what I wanted to show in this session. So, I think the key takeaway I would ask everyone to have is that Web3 unlocks superpowers for creativity. It unlocks superpowers for IP and franchise development, for storytelling, for character. Character is the atomic unit of storytelling. Character is the fundamental composable layer of storytelling. And it's the thing that everyone that ever minted a PFP has. You may not have identified who that character is yet, but however many PFPs you have, you own those characters in some form or fashion. And so what we are inviting you to do is bring those characters to a world, agree on some rules of that world, agree on the playground that we're all playing in, and then go nuts inside of it, have fun, build, something that other people can relate to and respond to. I think emotional connection is what drives the stories that we love, characters that we see ourselves in, that we relate to, or that we just want to watch create chaos. These are the things that we, want to follow those journeys, and you have it within your hands, within your wallets, to create those kinds of experiences for us. And we're here to help that happen. We're here to help that, to facilitate that process, to help bring the right people and the right pieces together to make it happen. And I think over the next 5 to 10 years, we're going to see really meaningful entertainment franchises get generated this way. And I believe we will be responsible for multiples of those. Mark's back with another question, which I love. So here we go. I don't quite follow how the zombie mint characters relates to the comic. They were minted first, procedurally generated, and then selections were made for the stories based on votes. Essentially, yeah. So the zombie characters relate to the comic because the world of the comic is this post-apocalyptic zombie world. So, we just know that there's this world that has a bunch of zombies in it. And so we felt like it would be fun to let people own those zombies. And then this particular exercise in Deadtown was around who were these characters before they became zombies? Who were these characters pre-apocalypse? And we didn't say yes or no as to whether or not they're currently dead and zombified, but in a kind of tragic twist, we know that they did become a zombie at some point. And so that creates an interesting context for the storytelling around those characters. So I hope that makes sense. But that was the reason that we made zombies for Deadtown. Little Alpha, there may be a iteration on that, which will also be in the world of Deadtown, which may deal with some of the other groups that exist within that world. So something to keep an eye out for in the future. Let's see. How does that relate to a pre-made character? I already have a Vogu, for example. So same difference. The thing with the create your own zombie concept was that we wanted to use our own collections, and you're gonna see more of these collections from us. But we think when we roll out our own collections, we want you to create that emotional connection from the beginning. We don't want you to just mint blindly and then have to go find a character that you resonate with, because our goal is not optimizing for quick flips. Our goal is for these are characters you own. Let's do something with these characters and create value together over time. So, we like this video game experience where you're coming in, creating your own character, creating something that you like, that you resonate with, and then building on top of that. And so for our own collections, that's the mechanic that we've built. With something like Vogu or the KIA or any of the collections that we've brought into the Macroverse that have already been minted, past that, it's the same process. You own these characters, and now we want to know who are these characters within the world of Vogu, within the world of KIA. So it doesn't really matter how they got there, but once they exist, then we go through the same process of working with you and with the community to develop a certain number of them, and then the next batch and the next batch, and so forth and so on. Hope that makes sense. Awesome. Glad that helps, Mark. Hello, David. What is the best way for writers to get involved? Multiple ways for writers to get involved. So, the number one way is every time that we open up storytelling sessions or the next round of submissions for characters is, start pitching those characters. If you don't own those characters, the other way to go is to team up with people that do. We've also got a place on the Discord where you may not have an idea for a particular character that you own, but you'd love to see something happen with it. And so there's a third option, which is you bring the story, someone else brings the character, and you team up together to create that storyline, that part of the universe. So we recognize that, not everyone wants to write these stories. Not everyone wants to create these stories, but they might like to see their character become someone in this world. And that's a perfect place for someone like yourself that does have a lot of writing experience and storytelling experience to participate and collaborate with those people. Or of course, minting and collecting and bringing your own characters to the party as well. And then longer term, what I see this evolving into is a kind of a new type of a writer's room where we can collaborate with each other, support each other, give each other feedback. And especially as we get from the first episodes to longer form content around some of these particular characters, there will be more, need and opportunity for collaboration in that context as well. So I think there are a lot of opportunities, but the number one way is as we go into Vogu, as we go into KIA in the short term, bring your skills to the party. We love to have them. Let's see, Rommel, what happens if you do the franchise deal with your GSA, Vogu, etc., and then sell the asset? Who gets the revenue for the character? So there's kind of two answers to this. At the moment, because of the way the legal framework for this works, and we've spent a lot of time with this with our attorneys figuring this out. So unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on your point of view, right now, the licensing agreement is with the person. So if you sell your Vogu and you created a storyline around that Vogu, you would still be the one to receive the royalties and participation in that character. You're still the creator of that character. So right now it's it is more traditional in that sense. You, the person, are the one responsible for creating that character. The asset is a representation of that character. And you might regret selling that asset if it becomes meaningful down the road, because that might be like the first appearance of that character in, certainly in NFT form. Down the road, I really think there's something interesting about making the royalties or residuals follow the asset, follow the NFT. Right now, I think there are concerns around security issues around that. There's not security like the SEC. I just mean like someone getting hacked and all of a sudden you've lost your Deadpool. But I think there's something fascinating about that being on chain down the road, and it's something we keep looking at. But I don't think the tools and the security and the right framework for that exists quite yet. But I do think at some point it will, and that will open up some interesting questions. But for now, it's tied to the person, not the NFT. How many stories get greenlit per project? There's kind of two answers to that as well. So with Deadtown and then Bushido's, these were longer 8-page stories. And so I believe we did 8. Actually, I believe it was 6 and then 8 in those two projects. And then in Wanderers right now, and probably we'll do this with Moonbirds, which we're also getting ready to spin up. Probably we'll do this with Vogu and KIA as well. We're kind of enjoying doing more shorter stories to kick things off so that more people can participate and see something happen with their characters. So we'll be doing batches more in the kind of 8 to 10 range. And then you'll also see circling back to Bushido's and Deadtown for a next season of anthology stories there, as well as new things opening up. So, Digital Pools is one that's been announced that, we've got a whole character collection coming there, as well as lots of different places that Alex and Matt have opened up for people to play. So generally, I'd say, 6 to 10 is going to be the general range of the numbers per season, you could say, or per batch in a particular project. Let's see, Mark. There's a project called Sassy Labs that has built a protocol for transferring IP rights with NFT sales. It's very new, but might be worth looking into. Yes, thank you, Mark. I am actually familiar with that, and it is very interesting and appealing to me. I think the biggest question, let's see, transferring licensing deals based on IP. Yes. The biggest question to me is still around people getting hacked and the nightmare that could be, going if it's purely attached to the NFT and that NFT becomes valuable because you've got all of this licensing revenue or royalty revenue attached to it. And if it's all just automatically on chain flowing to that NFT, that's amazing if you can say like, oh, I've built this character brand and it's worth $1 million and I can sell it to you for 10 million because it's a 10x valuation on that asset. And you could do that all on chain and it's instant and it's all the things that we love about blockchain. Like that to me is so appealing. And then the flip side of that is if if you get stupidly social engineered or you get hacked or something happens and someone's able to steal that asset, then you've lost that revenue stream, and it's very, very, very hard to get it back in many cases. So I think that's the kind of world that we live in right now. And I think as we solve some of those problems, maybe it becomes a two-factor type of authentication where it's tied to the NFT, but there's a way to socially recover that revenue stream if necessary. There's going to have to be some safeguards and guardrails around that. But I think the notion of being able to do it all on chain and having it attached to the asset is incredibly appealing philosophically to me. So yes, very interesting times. We are still in the Wild West, 100%. Any other questions? Security isn't there yet. I agree, Rommel, but I hope we get there. Yes. I mean, really, we also come from a world of traditional residual payouts. And I think, that's the other thing which I would love for us to be able to move on chain, and I ultimately will be able to do, is that, when we talk about being able to share revenue from all the ways that these characters and stories get utilized, it's not just NFTs. This is, traditional publishing, it's merchandising, it's, toys and who knows what kinds of AR experiences, gaming, all the different ways that these characters can be used in a franchise. So being able to bring on-chain and off-chain revenue together and distribute royalties and residuals, all seamlessly around the world automatically is one of the things that's so appealing to me about building these things in Web3 and, on blockchain. So I think, that's something else we're kind of pushing towards over the long term. And Malloy, you're right. Soulbound tokens may be a part of this equation as well. So I think the question there becomes, how do you balance, having something that's soulbound for the sake of royalties and residuals, but still having the transferability or liquidity around the core asset. And so there's, again, probably some mechanic or mechanism that needs to be put in place around that. Rommel says, when are we doing a Macroverse? When are we doing a Macroverse what if style series? Oh, what if style series. Yes, we are doing that, and it will be Macronauts, and that will come back as soon as we launch the platform, which we are getting so close to. This has taken us way longer to build than we thought it would, but it's so cool and it's so close. So we're down to the last 2 critical items on the list to keep us from launching. Our plan right now is to have everything to the point where we could launch tomorrow, and then we'll spend 3 to 4 weeks ramping up to that launch with marketing and other activity, just to spread the word about how cool everything that we built is. And then that will come from there. So Malloy is asking, when does the Bushido's comic drop? That's in the first drop on the Web3 platform. So we're somewhere between 3 to 6 weeks out. No, not 3, closer to the 6 week out probably from that drop. And Bushido's is in the first 5 series that will be coming out. I think he's onto something with Macronauts, to be honest. Oh yes, definitely onto something. This is we've already started Macronauts. There's actually some 5 sessions of community discussion around that on our YouTube channel right now, and it's only been paused while I focus on getting these last bugs squashed and getting everything ready to launch the platform. But big plans for Macronauts, and that will be the official character collection of the entire Macroverse. And for anyone that doesn't know, my training, my earliest part of my career was as an illustrator. So I put myself on the hook to create the art for these characters as well, which is really fascinating and fun process. I've worked with 5 other artists to create character collections, especially figuring out how to do them in this build your own character style. So making myself go through that process seems only fair. And at the same time, I'm doing something both visually and from a stylistic point of view that I don't think we've seen in the space before when it comes to the Macronauts project. So it's going to take a little time to put it all together, but it's going to be a lot of fun. And the first content that we're going to make with Macronauts is a narrative audio series. So switching things up a little bit there too. While I'm developing the art, we can start telling stories around the characters, and then you'll be able to create and mint the character that fits the story that you told in audio. So I think that's going to be a lot of fun as well. Yes, indeed. I agree, Malloy. It's awesome. How do creatives hit you with pitch decks? Good question. So we, unlike most companies in the world of media, we do want to see your ideas. There's 2 ways. I am very accessible on Discord. So discord.gg/macroverse. And in addition to that, throw that up here. So discord.gg/macroverse. You can find me there at some point in every day. And then we do also accept submissions of all kinds at submissions@macroverse.com. So through email. Feel free to send material there. And if you've got existing comics material that you're interested in us taking a look at, bringing onto the platform, we're happy to take a look at that. And we've got a whole way of approaching that. If you've got new and original ideas, we're interested in seeing that stuff as well. Or if you've got ideas within the universes that already exist, of course, we have a lot of ways to get involved there too. Yes, indeed. Chris, awesome to hear all the updates for the different universes. Got to get these kids to bed. Talk to you soon. Get those kids to bed. And Chris has a story in the Wanderers anthology, which we've been working on. We're starting to get color art in for that right now, and it looks so good. So very excited about that as well. Rommel, I don't know if you saw your Wanderers inks come in today, but they also look fantastic. So much cool stuff. Very good. So I hope that was helpful and interesting. I hope that many of you who are watching live or are in the chat or who come to this video later will come and play. Again, the best place to do that is on the Discord. You can also tweet at me at Ebonverse or at Macroverse on Twitter. Or should I say X? There's lots more fun to be had. So I just want to end by saying, how much I appreciate all the participation, the energy that people have put into helping us, figure some of these things out. Some of what we've shared today came from conversations with the community. Many of the people that are in the chat have been a part of those conversations, and so we're still figuring out how all these different pieces go together. But we think we've got our hands around something really cool and exciting. And at whatever place in the storytelling, world building, crafting of cool content, whatever place you've ever thought of yourself or perhaps never have thought of yourself in that, this is a place to dip your toe in to all the way to getting all the way submerged in the world of building content and story and character. And we're using comics to do it, but comics are just the beginning. So there is a lot to be done and a lot of opportunity to participate wherever that feels good to you. So please come join the party, build worlds with us. Discord.gg/macroverse one more time. And with that, I think that is the end of this particular session. One last thing before I go. Tomorrow, we have our final live stream that's affiliated with the Web3 Comic-Con, which is going on right now. That is going to be at 1 p.m. Pacific or 4 p.m. Eastern. And we like to also draw interpretations of your characters mint them, and then drop them back into your wallets for fun. So we have a channel on our Discord, which is called Stake Characters. Probably needs a better name because you're not technically staking them in the way that people think of staking. But if you drop your characters in there, myself and a handful of other awesome artists that are going to join tomorrow's live stream will pick one. We'll do a drawing of that character, kind of a draw this in your style challenge. So you'll get to see a interpretation of your character by myself or one of the other artists that has come to play. We will then mint that character and drop it back into your wallet, all for free, all for fun. So join the live stream tomorrow. And if you're interested in having your character be one of the ones that might be picked, make sure you get it into those channels on the Macroverse Discord between now and some point tomorrow morning. And I think that's it. So thank you, everybody, for joining. We will see you in the Macroverse.